1075 The Game Podcasting is sponsored by Modern Exterminating, a family-oriented company. Professional, honest, and dependable pest control solutions. We're your one-stop shop for all pests.
No two situations are always the same, and the person involved in them directly is the one who has to take into account, their family, moving stuff, certain things of that nature. And they're the ones that ultimately have to decide, is this something that I want to do? But if we open up this particular Choose Your Own Adventure book, take it out of the wrapper, you open the book, and you read the first couple pages, and we'll sum it up here. You played college baseball at your alma mater, and then you have a desire to get into coaching. And then you say, do I go somewhere else to be a GA, or do I stick with my program? And then you flip to the page where you're going to stick with that school.
Turn to page 53.
Turn to page 53. Mm-hmm. You're going to start coaching at your alma mater. You climb up the coaching ranks at your alma mater. You experience a lot of success. You're on a staff that wins a national title. And now you have worked your way up to associate head coach. The legendary coach you worked for, Coach Gilmore, retires. Do you choose to stay and try to get the head coaching job? Flip to page 72. He's now the head coach at Coastal Carolina. You experience success. Congratulations. It all works. You go to the National Championship Series and fall just short to LSU. But for the second time in school history, you made it to the College World Series. You experienced a ton of success. You're winning a lot of games. You can bounce after that year, but let's say he decides to stay like he did. Let's go to page 91. Season starts. You have high expectations. You're on a roll. The month of May hits, the most important month in college baseball for you. And since Cinco de Mayo, you go 4-9. The struggles are there. But the interest is still on you, especially from the big state school, the flagship state school right down the road. About, 3 hours away? They're still lurking. They're still watching. You end your season going 0-2 in the Tallahassee Regional, lose a close game to Florida State, and now you are reaching a point where you turn to page 110 if you want to take the job down the road in the SEC program, the one that has won 2 national championships of their own, that has a storied history, and a top 10 financial investment in that sport in the country? Or do you turn to page 125 and stay at the school that you played at, that you came up through the coaching ranks at, that you care for deeply, and stick it out, even if they can't match the money the other school can match? That's the conundrum. That's the page that Kevin Schnall is reading right now, and he's sitting there and he's pondering his options. If you are the coach in that situation, what are the things that I think you would have to wade through before you actually end up deciding which page to turn to?
So much. This is a very interesting conversation because it goes down to what do you value at that moment in your life, not what you value overall, because everything changes at different times, and everybody's faced with having to make professional or career decisions on a lot of these same metrics. The money may not be the same, but we've all made a decision. Should I stay? Should I go? Do I have to leave?
Sounds like a song. Should make a great song.
Correct. Do I have to leave the space that I'm in? Do I like the space that I'm in? Do I like the space more? Let's go back to this. I thought Kevin was, if you're doing a good job at the place of your employment, you should get offered opportunities, either to move up or to move out.
Yep.
That's how that should work. And so you should be faced with these opportunities. Now, once you get those opportunities, you have to decide, do I stay here or do I go to the next spot? And every time you say no, that further ingrains you into the spot that you are. And so he's at a crossroads right here, because if he says no to this opportunity, provided that it's offered to him, which we assume it is, he is essentially locking himself into Coastal, maybe for the duration of that contract. Because I don't know if a better opportunity comes along.
Or longer. right?
Or longer.
A good example, it's not completely apples to apples because Bill Snyder had no previous connection to Kansas State. But when Bill Snyder, as a football coach, left being the offensive coordinator at Iowa, goes to Kansas State, builds them up from nothing, a historic losing streak, a Sports Illustrated cover that mentioned it being the worst college sports program in America, and makes them a winner within the course of 2 years. And then they go through a run in the 90s like they did, where they're constantly in national championship discussion. He, of course, got a lot of intrigue from other places in the country that had coach openings. And he, as soon as he turned the first one down and then would turn the second one down, eventually people stop asking because they know you're not going to go anywhere else.
Exactly.
Kevin Schnall, if you're Kevin Schnall, and this is something that you really want in your career, right? You may love Coastal Carolina. This may be the only place where it has felt like home in your baseball career. But if coaching at the SEC level is something that you always aspired for, something that you've always had ambition to do, something that when you first started coaching, something you were really interested in, there is no guarantee the opportunity comes back around. If you just want to go back to the last coaching search this South Carolina baseball program had, the names are different than the ones that we're talking about right now in this cycle. And in large part, it's because of guys like Cliff Godwin at ECU. There his entire career. And when he starts turning stuff down, I think everybody knew that he's only going to be the head coach at East Carolina. If I'm Kevin Schnall, this is really tough because the big if for me is, do you have the ambition to want to take a job in the SEC? Is that something you've always wanted? It's something that if I'm talking to him, right, I would ask, how badly is this something that you have wanted in your career? Because you're in a window right now as an individual head coach. Your stock is as high as it's going to be because we all remember 2025. I think everybody in college sports right now that's involved in it was old enough to remember that because I don't know if there's any one-year-olds that are in athletic department administrations making decisions. Your stock's still really high. If you're going to do it, I would say take it. Now is the time to do it.
Are you going to be able to live with the idea that you didn't take the shot?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that he has to deal with. There's two things in my mind. One, you can't be happier than happy. So if you're already happy where you are, you might not want to mess with that. If everything is in place and you can compete and all that's good, I don't know if you want to mess with that. But also at the same time, will you ever get this shot again? And can you live with yourself as a baseball guy saying, I didn't give myself an opportunity to compete at the quote-unquote highest level?
Yeah. I mean, really, it boils down to what is his ultimate goal? What is going to bring him the supreme, epic happiness and joy? Maybe he's, like we said, not interested in the SEC. Like, he feels like he is at the pinnacle. He's at the beach. You know, like, life's pretty good. I got a good program. So it'll be interesting. But the fact that he hasn't said, I'm just really not interested, just makes you think that he's still leaving it open.
Yeah. Human element tells me that he's going to really consider this. And now it would come down to, how good are you in your personal life at living with the what ifs? Because if you don't live well with the what ifs, then maybe you should take this.
It's going to be there because it's going to be there regardless.
Yes.
If I did it, if I didn't do it, what if? That's something we all have to ponder.
So, and me personally, I'm not great at living with the what ifs. Me personally.